Okay, so we are ready to understand the well ordering principle in that. First one is mathematical induction. Actually, mathematical induction is a method to prove any kind of open, closing statements or some kind of theorems we have to prove it. There may be some another ways also to prove that specific theorem, right? But if suppose we want to prove that specific statement or the theorem by the method of mathematical induction, then there is a certain rule, okay, in which what we do, first we show that the theorem holds for the basic values. Basic values means what? Actually, when we talk about the integer number system, then or the number of values which are given in a statement. So the first term will be for n equal to 1 generally. Right? So put n equal to 1 in that given statement of the theorem in the left side and the right hand side and check whether both the sides are coming to be equal or not. Now, if you want to be a little bit more clear, then put one more thing. Put n equal to 2. It will be very simple for us to prove it. So put n equal to 1 and n equal to 2. But basic step actually consists of n equal to 1 only. Okay. So put n equal to 1 and then see left hand side equals to the right hand side. If it comes to be so, then we say that the given theorem or the given statement is correct for the basic step, which is n equal to 1. Right? Then we move on to the induction step. What is the induction step? In that we assume, we suppose that the given theorem is correct for any value n equal to k. We suppose, okay? That means what? Whatever the formula is given to us, it is correct for n equal to k. So replace in that given statement n equal to k and write your own statement that this given theorem or the statement is correct for the value n equal to k, right? So this is given and we have it in our hand. We have the statement, right? Then we put the value for n equal to n plus k, and what we will do, that we will prove that this given theorem or the given statement is correct for the next value, that is n equal to k plus 1. That means this given statement is correct for k plus 1th term also. So if we are able to prove, then what we will conclude, that this given theorem or the statement is correct for any value n. Okay, so that is the main process of the mathematical induction, right? Now in that, when we suppose that it is correct for any value n equal to k, and we suppose it for, and we prove it actually for the next value k plus 1, then we have a little bit calculation part in this induction process only, right? Here we have to prove some kind of calculation and we have to do some kind of calculations. Here all the things are not the assumptions. So we will prove it that this theorem or this statement is correct for k plus 1th term, right? And then finally the conclusion will come that okay, yes, the given theorem is correct for k plus 1th term also. Like the first question or the example which is given here and on the screen, you can see that we have to prove by mathematical induction that for all the positive integers which are greater than 1, the statement like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus so and so up to n will be equal to n into n plus 1 by 2. That same kind of theorem or same kind of statement you may have seen somewhere else in your previous classes also. But here what we want to do, we want to prove it by mathematical induction. So what we do, first of all, we will prove this one for the basic step. For understanding the basic step, what we did, we put n equal to 1 and we see left side 1 only, right hand side n will be replaced by 1. So 1 into n plus 1, 1 into 1 plus 1 by 2, that is also 1. So left side and right side both are coming to be 1 only, right? Let me have some annotations. So when it says okay, left side equal right hand side, that means we have concluded that this as n or given statement is correct for the basic step n equal to 1, right? Now what is our work? To prove it in the induction step. So what is the next induction step? In the induction step, we suppose that this given statement is correct for any value n equal to k. So it is sure that if you add up to the values 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to k, it must be equal to k into k plus 1 by 2. Okay, that is what our assumption in the induction step. Next, what we have to prove that this theorem is correct for the k plus 1th value also. That means if you say 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus so and so up to k plus 1th the value, then that must be equal to n into n plus 1 by 2. That means k plus 1 into k plus 2 by 2. So that we have to prove. So that is what our assumption, that okay, it is correct for the kth term. Then you do one thing, add k plus 1 in the left side and add k plus 1 in the right hand side. So left side you just keep it like this only, and right hand side you try to solve it. Just little bit simplification is required. And for doing that simplification, what you do, take k plus 1 outside. So k plus 1 is taken outside. Then what you have in the bracket, k plus 2, right, and the value next one, right? So when we take common, then k plus 1 will come out, and the next factor will be k plus 1 plus 1, right? So it will be k plus 1 into k plus 2 divided by 2, and that is same like given statement for the k plus 1th term. So it is verified and proved that this given statement is correct for k plus 1th term. Now once you are saying that this is correct for the k plus 1th term, that means it is correct for all the positive integers, right? And that is our final conclusion also. Here you can see it. Next one, the theorem is given for us to prove by same mathematical induction for the squares. That means if you add 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square and so, then the value will be generally equal to n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. That you have to prove. So same thing we will follow, and for the basic step, put n equal to 1 and verify left side equal to right hand side, and it will come obviously 1 square means 1 only, and n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 will be also 6 by 6, so it will be 1 equal to 1. Now for the induction step, we have to suppose that this given statement is correct for any value k, then you will prove it for the value k plus 1, right? So that we have to prove. Okay, so do one thing. If you say it is correct for k plus k value, so 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square to so and so into plus k square will be equal to k into k plus 1 here, into 2k plus 1 by 6. Then add k plus 1 square in the left side and add k plus 1 in the right hand side, like it is done here. Okay. Then take LCM, and little bit simplification will give you the value of k into k plus 2 into 2k plus 3. That is same value as it comes to be equal to for k plus 1 term, right? You see here, this is equal to k square. Then you add k plus 1 square, as I said. Then what you can take common, k plus 1 will be taken as common. Then you have something in the bracket that has to be a little bit simplified, like LCM. When you take the LCM of this term, LCM will be 6. So the value will be a little bit simplified, and you will be factorizing by 2 factors. And those factors will give you the value k plus 1 into k plus 2 into 2k plus 3. And that is in same accordance as given statement. Right. Now for the next theorem, here we don't have a series. Just simple formula is there that any n factorial will be greater than equal to 2 to the power n minus 1 for all the n integers greater than 1. So for basic step, very simple only, take n equal to 1, put in the both sides of this one, and you will come to know that okay, 1 is greater than or equal to 1. It is sure 1 is not greater than equal to greater than 1, but that equal to will verify this basic step. Then you will conclude that S1 is true. That means the basic step is true. Then for induction step, you will assume that this given theorem is correct for k term. Then your work is to prove it that this is correct also for k plus 1th term. And for that you do what? You check the value of k plus 1. When you say that k is greater than 1, that means k plus 1 will be greater than or equal to 2. So if you multiply in this term by k plus 1 in both the sides, then this k factorial will convert into k plus 1 factorial, and here right hand side this k plus 1 will be converted into 2 only, because if k is greater than 1, then k plus 1 will be greater than or equal to 2. So that will be replacing by 2 here, and that 2 will come from k plus 1 only. Okay, so you will say that okay, 2 to the power k also will be greater than equal to k plus 1 factorial, right? So k plus 1 factorial will be greater than equal to 2 to the power k. So if you replace it here by k plus 1, then this is what? 2 to the power k plus 1 minus 1. So namely 2 to the power k will come for k plus 1th term. And we can conclude that. Now here in this example also, you have to prove for any integer which are any of the integer which is greater than or equal to 6. So it is sure that you cannot verify this theorem for n equal to 5, because for this value or this statement, the basic step will be n equal to 6 only. That is the first step to be checked, because question or the statement itself says that 4n is less than equal to n square minus 7 for any n which is greater than equal to 6. Okay, so for basic step, put n equal to 6, and then you will be able to verify both the sides that the value which comes to be here, which is in accordance with the given statement. Then assume it for any value k. So 4k must be less than k square minus 7. Then you have to prove it for next term. That means what? 4 of k plus 1. Right? K is the general term in the induction step. K plus 1 is the next term of the general term. Okay. So, and our intention or our work is what? To prove it for the k plus 1th term. Okay. And for that you replace the k by k plus 1, and then you will come to know that you will be having these values. Then we have to verify whether it is correct or not. So what we do? We will see what is 4k into 4k plus 4. So take it common, and then what you will say, 4k plus 4 will be 4k plus 4. You just separate the term. Then what is 4k? 4k is less than this one, because that's the assumption. So replace it by k plus k square minus 7 and then plus 4. So you will have the value as k square minus 7 plus 2k plus 1. Okay. So that will verify the given theorem here. Same here, when you have to prove that if n is any integer, then n square, n power 5 minus n is divided by 5. That means divisible by 5 or divides 5. That means what? You can write n power 5 minus n divide 5. Means divide 5 is allowed. So you will check it for the basic step, n equal to 1, and that comes to be 0. And we know it very well that 0 can be divided by 5. So it is correct for the basic step. Now S of n now these terms are for the induction steps. For the induction step, what we do, that Sn is correct for any value k, then your value or your work will be to prove it for n minus 1 power, sorry, k plus 1 power 5 minus k plus 1. That means you will prove it for the next term. What is the next term of kth term? That is k plus 1th term. Okay, now for that you have to open one expansion here. In that expansion you may have to remember the coefficients, which are simply can be derived from a triangular format. When you say you have two values, huh? Suppose how it comes, a plus b, then a plus b whole square, then a plus b whole cube. That triangle can be open. How are the coefficients? 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, like that. Those values you have to remember. So that factor, when it is k plus 1 power 5, then the coefficients are 1, uh, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. And one by one, the power of a is decreasing. A means a plus 1. When you open it here, it is a plus 1 power 5. Okay, so same like here also, k power will be decreasing 1 by 1, and then you will be having k plus 1 power 5 as this term, and already you have minus of k plus 1 here. This is same minus of k plus 1. Now from this term, 1 and 1 can be cancelled. So what you have finally in your hand, one value you have k power 5 minus k. So k power 5 minus k. Then all other values, all other terms which are, I am making it in blocks, they are the multiple of 5. So bring 5 from them and write like this. Now you will come to know that the second term completely is divided by 5. Because first term you have to understand. First term was what? K power 5 minus k. And that is our assumption. We assume it already that k power 5 minus k is the multiple of 5. That means it may be some kind of equal to 5 into m. M is any value, just our assumption on. Yeah. So right here 5m. Then you will be able to bring 5 outside of all the steps. When you are able to bring 5 outside, that means what? This given complete term can be divided by 5. So it is divisible of 5. That's proved. Okay. Same like this also. Here you have to prove that this given statement is the multiple of 8. So it is sure that you will prove it for the first basic step, like it is done here. And the basic step, it comes to be 8 only. So 8 is divisible of 8. So it is verified. Then you assume it that this given statement is correct for any value k. If it is correct for any value k, that means ak will be some kind of multiple of 8. That means it will be some kind of 8 into m. Okay. Then your work will be to prove it for k plus 1th term. Okay. So for k plus 1th term, we will write down the term like this. And then for this specific question, you have to write down the specific term as a of k plus 1 minus a of k. Because here some simple, values will be cancelled, and that's a little bit kind of tricky question. Huh? So when you write down a of k plus 1 minus ak, then you will be able to cancel 1. So 1 will be cancelled. And then when you are able to write down this value and this value, then you have to understand that if 5 is the odd number, then 5 power anything other than 0, 5 power anything will be also an odd number, right? Understand that. Like here also, when you say it is the 3 power k, then it is sure that 3 power, if 3, because 3 is the odd number, so 3 power anything will be also some kind of odd number. So for that odd number, actually, 3 minus 1 will be 2. So like that you will have in your hand one even number here and one even number here. Okay. So that 4 can be taken as common. We have to rotate this actually, this page especially. Hmm. So so 4 has come outside, and then you will see both are odd numbers, and power anything will be odd number plus odd number. So that will be the even number. So from these both terms, 2 will come out, and that 2 will make 4 into 2 as 8, and you will say that this is the multiple of 8 also, right? And so we have to rotate it again, I think. Hmm. Right. And then the sum rule, what it says that in the case, if suppose there are two tasks which has to be performed, and one is happening after another, then how many total ways that both the tasks will be performed? Totally m plus n ways only, right? And if suppose there are two tasks which has to be performed simultaneously or together, right? In that case, the total number of ways by which that these two tasks can be performed are m into n ways. Okay, so like the example is also given here that suppose that there are 16 boys and 18 girls wish to select, and if we have to select one student as the class representative, then obviously how many options we have? 16 plus 18. Right, that is in total. Okay, that's 34 ways we can select one student of CR. Now, to understand that the concept of the product rule, you can understand this very good example. Number 3, suppose that one person has 8 shirts and 5 ties, right? Then how many ways he can wear dress, huh? That is, he can select 8 shirts, and along with that, each tie can be selected. So 8 into 5, that means 40 options are there for him to select one dress for shirt and tie. Okay, you can collect it, or you can coordinate with same shirt and pant also, and the same way you will understand. Now see the example number 4, that if suppose there is a hostel library, and which has 12 books on math, 10 books on PS, and 16 books on CS. Okay, 11 books on electronics. The student has to select any one book to read. So how many he can select totally? You can add all these numbers, and that is the total possible ways by which the student can perform the task to select one book. Okay. Now we have to there is a question that we have to determine the number of 6-digit integer in which there are 3 options. No digit is repeated. That means for first digit, how many are available? Think about it. For second digit, third digit, how many values are available? Digits you know very well. The digits are actually 0 to 9, totally 10 digits. But the first digit cannot be 0. If it is 0, it is not 6-digit number. It will be 5-digit number. So in the first case, what we have to do, that no digit is repeated. That means if suppose in the first digit 9 number has come, the 9 will not come again. If you start your first digit by number 4, the second digit will not be 4. Okay, so and the second option, what we have to do, no digit is repeated and it is even number. So for even number, you know what is the last digit it should be. I think about that. No digit is repeated also, and it is divisible by 5. You know which numbers are divisible by 5? The ending digit should be 0 or 5 only. Think about that, and that has to be fixed for us. Okay, so there are totally 9 ways we can choose 0 should not come in the first place. So for 6-digit number for which no digit is repeated, then how many numbers it can have? First digit will be 9, second also 9, because in the first place 0 cannot come. So how many are available? 9 only. For second digit, that digit which has come in the first place, gone. So you have 9 again, because 0 can come at the second place. So like that, first place 9, second place 9. Then one by one the digits will be decreasing. So 9 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 6 into 5. That will be the answer of the first one, what you have to write. No digit is repeated. The second one, what was the question? No digit is repeated and it is even number, right? Even number, huh? You think about that. Even number should end with 0, and with 2, and with 4, and with 6, and with 8. No other options you have. So that is the last digit, 111. What is written? No, that is fixed one place. That one place is already fixed. So remaining, how many are there? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay. That is the number which are having 0 as the last place, because it does not have any condition on the first place, right? So first place can have 9 numbers other than 0, because 0 has already gone in the last place. Now if the last digit is 2, then the total number of values, or total number of these kind of values, will be 8 into 7 into 6 into 5 into 4, right? Because 0 has already gone in the last place, right? And if the number is ending with 4, then same, this is the digit for option 4, the value 4. If the number ends with 6, this is the digit for 6. So all other will be same only. It will be differing only for the value which is ending with 0, right? So because all other places it cannot start from 0, so the available numbers will be 8 only. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 will be the option for the numbers or the digits which are ending with 2, 4, 6, 8. So finally what we have to do, we have to find out the total number of these kind of values, okay? These kind of 6-digit integers. So we add all these numbers, and the final answer comes like 42000, right? Now if it is divisible by 5, then very simple. The last digit should be 0 and last digit should be 5. If the last digit is 0, then the first digit will be non-zero. So 98765. If last digit is 5, then also first digit cannot be 0. So availability for the first digit will be 10 minus 2. That is 87654. So add both of these numbers and you will get the answer. Right? Now we have to find out the number of 3-digit even numbers which with no repeated digits. 3-digit even numbers. So what the even numbers are? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. That are the ending digits. Okay. So how many we have totally? You see the options. It has 9 choices. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and for X has the 8 choices. Right. So totally what we have, 1 into 9. That's the first digit, and other 2 will be 4 into 8. So that is what we have, 41 ways. Okay. And the second digit, which is Y, it has also 8 digits or 8 choices. So 41 into 8, that means 328 ways it will be selected. Okay. Now this question is a little bit simple, that if suppose there is a car manufacturing company which has 4 models, 12 colors and 3 engine sizes and 2 transmission, that means auto and I think manual. Okay. Then how many distinct cars can be manufactured? So you just do one thing, 4 into 12 into 3 into 2, just multiply the numbers, because that can be these are the events or the statements or the task which can happen together, right? So total number will be 288. What the second we have to do? Of these, how many have same color? So how many colors are available here? Totally 12 colors. Okay, so we want it to be of the same color. That is what? 4 into 3 into 2. That means 24, right? So that's the second one. Now, the question is actually regarding about the two-digit numbers, which is bit and byte, right? And for that, you can understand a little bit simply, because if you would be studying some kind of computer science in bit and byte, some kind of that issue. So what the question is, a bit is either 0 or 1. A byte is sequence of 8 bit. You know it now. So what we have to do, find the number of bytes. You know it, how many? 8 and 2 power 8 will be 256. Number of bytes which begin with 1 and end with 1. Okay. So make it like that. Begin with 1 1. Okay. And end with 1 1. So how many places are remaining now? 1 1 means starting 2 has gone. 1 1 last. 2 has gone. So remaining 4 places. You have to fit 2 to the power 4 values. That means 16 values. It's a simple right only. The third one, the number of bytes which begin with 1 1 and does not end with 1 1. That means 2 to the power 6 availability of the places you have to fill with 0 or 1. So totally 64. Okay. And they begin with the 1 1 and does not end with 1 1. That means totally the availability of 64. Now from this 64, 16, right, is fixed. So the remaining number is 48. 64 minus 16, that is 48, is the number of byte which begin with 1 1 and does not end with 1 1. Okay. Now the next thing we will see it later on. I have to close it now.